Remember in October when the Sabres made a big move and Sabres fans were excited? That didn't last long. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Believers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to this Buffalo Sabres edition of Believers Talk as the NHL deadline is here. It has come upon us. Today is the last day for any NHL team to make trades, and really early in the morning, the Buffalo Sabres decided to do just that. While most of us were sleeping on the East Coast, the Buffalo Sabres decided to make a trade with the Boston Bruins, sending Taylor Hall, that's right, Taylor Hall, the guy that the Buffalo Sabres just signed in October to a one-year contract. They send him and also Curtis Lazar to the Boston Bruins. In return, the Buffalo Sabres get Anders Bjork and a 2022 second-round draft pick. So let's break down this trade a little bit, winners of this trade, if there are any, losers of this trade, if there are any, and why was it that Taylor Hall was such a touted free agent signing, and yet he doesn't get first-round value when it comes to the NHL. For all you NFL fans out there who are Buffalo Bills fans mostly, and you dabble in the Sabres and in the NHL, first let me tell you that the draft in the NFL is nothing like the draft in the NHL. So when you hear a second-round draft pick, in the NFL, you get excited, right? That's a good pick. But when you hear about the second-round draft pick in the NHL, there's not as much to get excited about. We'll get into some numbers that kind of prove my point a little bit later, but I want to break down this trade. So again, the Bruins get Taylor Hall, again, the guy the Buffalo Sabres signed in October. I remember Buffalo Sabres fans very excited when we signed him, right? We thought that this was a sign that Adams and Kruger were going to make a playoff push. Now, the Buffalo Sabres, obviously, the season did not go all the way they had planned it to. However, since the firing of Ralph Kruger, it seems like the Sabres have been getting better slowly. We've seen them even just yesterday, they beat the Flyers 5-2. So again, the Sabres are getting better. We are seeing that, but this is a season that's already been lost. There's nothing that can really be saved from this season, and we knew that Taylor Hall probably wasn't coming back next year, so to get some sort of value out of him is a good thing. However, it's not the value that some Sabres fans might be expecting, but here's the truth. Taylor Hall, as I listen to other analysts talk about him, one word I hear a lot is underachiever, okay? He plays well when a team plays well. But when a team's inconsistent, when a team's playing poorly, he's not a bright spot. He's not someone who can lift up that team and be like that good team leader that you need. For example, in 2020-2021 season, for the Buffalo Sabres, he only has 2 goals. And if I told you in October that as of April 12th, he only had 2 goals, then you'd be okay with getting rid of him. Obviously, he's not living up to the billing when he only has 2 goals for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, he does have 17 assists, so he has 19 points for the Sabres this season. Still not what you want one of your star players to do, especially when your star, Jack Eichel, goes out for an injury for a long period of time. You expect your other players to step up in those instances, and Taylor Hall has not done that at all. So Taylor Hall gets traded. Personally, I am a fan of Curtis Lazar. Some of you might think I'm crazy, but I think he's a good young player, a good forward that the Buffalo Bills really might have been able to use in the future. Now, he's a depth type guy, maybe one of your lower lines, your fourth line, something like that. But when you talk about Bruins team that has problems with depth scoring, Chris Lazar is not a bad pickup. And if Taylor Hall plays the way Taylor Hall can play and how he's played in the past, this is a really good pickup, really good trade for the Boston Bruins. However, the Boston Bruins have struggled in the playoffs, don't struggle to get in the playoffs, or maybe only get through the first round of the playoffs. This trade might not be the best for them. Especially if Taylor Hall is not willing to renegotiate his contract and make it a longer deal. Remember, the Sabres signed Taylor Hall to a 1-year deal back in November. Now, the Sabres have agreed to pay 50% of Taylor Hall's contract, as he has been on the Sabres for about half the season. The Bruins are going to pay the other 50%. So that will help with salary cap numbers for the Buffalo Sabres going into the 2022 NHL season. But I'm not sure about all that. I'm sure there are plenty of NHL experts out there who can break down those numbers for you. But again, some Sabres fans expect to get more out of Taylor Hall. When you look at Anders Bjork, only 2 goals, 3 assists so far this season, was the 146th draft pick in the 2014 NHL draft. You're thinking 2014, this kid's career is almost over, right? Not necessarily, okay? And like I said earlier, the NFL draft, this is one of the places where the NFL draft and the NHL draft are kind of different. So these players are drafted into the NHL very young. So it works almost more like the Major League Baseball draft in some ways than it does the NFL draft, because after he was drafted, Anders Bjork went to Notre Dame College to play hockey. He went over to Europe and played some international hockey, and that's what most of these players do. They work in the AHL before they come up. They go into the minor league system, or they go over to the international system, or they go to college. There's a bunch of other things that these players do once they're drafted by an NHL team. And kind of to prove my point, you have to go back a decade to kind of get a full gamut of a player's career, of an NHL draft's success rate, right? So if you're looking, and I pulled this off a website, and I do apologize, I forget the website to give it credit, but if you look at this website, it talked about players from 2000 to 2009 that were drafted, right? And from 2000 to 2009, 2,100 players were drafted in the NHL draft. Now, out of those 2,100 players, 598 of those players played in the NHL. And out of those 598 players, only 17.2 of the, 598 players played 100 games or more in the NHL. And out of those 598 players, only 17.2% of them were picked in the second round, or just over 100 players. So you're talking about 2,100 players selected over a decade, right? Or in a decade. Out of those 2,100 players, only 100 played more than 100 games or more that were picked in the second round. When you think about an NFL trade value, you think the second round, it's a pretty high value, right? You think about a second rounder playing in his rookie season, playing multiple seasons with the team he signed with. I mean, look at some of our second round draft picks over the last few years, and you see, I mean, Cody Ford, right? I mean, perfect for the Buffalo Bills. Japanese, we'll see if he gets more playing time this season. But you see them getting more playing time, and your expectations are a little bit higher. But when you're talking about only 17.2% of these 598 players that play 100 games or more being from the second round, it just doesn't have the same trade value, right? It doesn't have the same value a second round pick does in the NFL, and that's the truth of it. So again, if Taylor Hall, Curtis Lazar, if they play well for the Bruins, help them make a playoff push, things like that, if they get the Taylor Hall player that we were hoping to get back in November, then the Bruins definitely got the better part of this deal, right? But we get a player in Anders Bjork, I believe 26 years old, maybe 27, so still might have some time to turn it around and figure things out. New change of scenery, same thing with Taylor Hall, new change of scenery, how are they going to react to that? And we get a second round draft pick. And again, from what I understand from the experts, the 2022 NHL draft isn't that great, right? The 2023 NHL draft is supposed to be wonderful, but the 2022 NHL draft doesn't have a lot of depth. And so you just wonder if it's going to be worth it for the Buffalo Sabres. But again, Taylor Hall was going to be a free agent at the end of the season anyway. And if he wasn't going to sign with the Buffalo Sabres in what has become a lost season, you get something for him. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think this is a good trade for the Buffalo Sabres? Again, if you're asking me, would you rather get something for a player that's leaving at the end of the year or not? I say get something, and the Buffalo Sabres do get something, but is it enough? So again, let me know in the comment section what you think. Thank you for joining me on this breaking news edition of Believers Talk, where we give you Buffalo Sabres news, breaking down Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Sabres, Bisons, all Buffalo sports right here. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and like I said, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.